Okay, so has Trump now repeated calls for Palestinians to be sent to Egypt and Jordan again?
Yeah, the first he said when he was on the plane with talking to reporters, and he said that on the phone he talked to the King of Jordan and to Egypt. I guess he was talking to Sisi, saying that he suggested that he thinks that's what should happen. He didn't say what their reply was, although we can assume what their reply was. Their reply later, it came out officially later because this was published. This exchange, with the reporters was published, and then Jordan came out with a statement, and Egypt came out with a statement saying, obviously, we don't accept that. We reject that. And the thing is, it's not a new proposal. Trump didn't come up with this. I mean, this was Biden's proposal and Blinken's proposal. Blinken went to Jordan and said that. Sisi went. What's his name? Biden called Sisi, as I recall, and asked him that, or insisted upon that, upon the directions of Netanyahu. Netanyahu told Biden to do it, and Biden did it, and they were flatly rejected, because this is clear position.
Right.
So Trump knows that already. When he says that, he knows that already. He already knows. I don't think that he's saying that with any expectation of compliance.
Right.
Even though now he has come out with another, I think at a press conference, saying, "Oh, they'll take them. They'll take them. We give Egypt a lot." He said. He said we give Egypt. I love this. How America just always regards any money. It's just like Jordan Peterson talking about the money that supposedly America has given to Saudi Arabia, as if you get nothing in return.
Something magnanimous that you're doing.
But he apparently, reportedly anyway, with the blocking foreign aid or closing off foreign aid. Foreign aid to Jordan has been canceled or suspended, but he's maintaining the aid to Egypt. Egypt and Israel are like the only two countries where the foreign aid hasn't been cut off, reportedly. But there's a lot of confusion about this. So the question is, if he doesn't really have any expectation of compliance with this request, which there's no way that he can, it has to be remembered always that any public position that Trump takes should never, ever be taken literally. It's a bargaining tactic, or it's a tactic of misdirection only. In this case, I think that it's a bargaining tactic. He wants something else.
Right.
Because the important thing, the really important thing, this is the thing that makes his suggestion different from Biden and Blinken. It included him asking Jordan and Egypt, "Do you have any better ideas?"
That's interesting.
Meaning, he's opening the door to, what I want is for this to be resolved. And the only suggestion that anyone has that's on our side, meaning America and Israel, is the expulsion of the Palestinians. Okay, we know already that that's not acceptable to any of you. So what do you propose in terms of reconstruction of Gaza? Because Trump was framing it in that way. He was framing it in, as he said, Gaza is a demolition zone, which indeed it is, and we all know why. Although he avoided mentioning why that is the case. Gaza is a demolition zone, and there's nothing there. There's like no buildings, which breaks Trump's heart more than the death of the people. He hates for buildings to be destroyed because he's a building guy. So the idea is, how are you going to actually even go about, practically speaking, from a sort of engineering perspective, how realistically are you going to rebuild the Gaza Strip without moving people, without relocating people somewhere else? And I think he's telling them, you need to have a solution to this. He's telling the Arabs, he's telling Egypt and Jordan, and more importantly, the GCC. Basically, in my view, what he's saying is, we need to move forward with this.
Right. How do we constructively move forward? Pun intended.
Yeah.
Move forward with this in a constructive manner.
Yeah.
Given the reality of the influx of the people facing demolition, a body of
demolished area, demolished territory.
Demolished territory, and then they have to be fed. They have to be, they have to live. Also, right. So there's all of these factors.
I mean, because the scale of reconstruction is
which then brings the point about
mind-blowing.
Having China, as you suggested in the chat.
Yeah, well, I think personally, okay. First of all, I think that anytime Trump or anyone else, but especially America, anytime they have any communication with Jordan or Egypt, it's an indirect communication to the GCC, because those are the sponsors of both Jordan and Egypt, and the most important players economically. And also, the GCC has pledged to be involved in reconstructing Gaza, obviously. So I think that Trump is bargaining for, basically saying we're at that stage now to move forward with reconstruction, and with now moving to the next phase, which is going to be what is Gaza going to look like and who is it going to be under, which also includes, to a certain extent, in my view, the subtext for all of this is the transferal of dependency, of Israel's dependency from America to the GCC. They're transferring Israel's dependency. And now it's time for the GCC to move on that. Now it's time, through Gaza, but probably what's going to end up happening is that Gaza is going to be like, okay, land ownership in Gaza is going to be, like I said in the chat, is going to be basically Control-Alt-Deleted, in my view. Now I'm just speaking realistically, what's likely to happen. This isn't at all what I think should or is good or what have you. This is just what's most likely. What's most likely is that land ownership in Gaza is going to be Control-Alt-Deleted, and land will be distributed according to the caprice of the Palestinian Authority, with parcels of land being distributed according to whatever the PA decides. And the most valuable real estate along the beachfront property, will be distributed to the Gulf and to their foreign partners, investment firms like Affinity, which is Jared Kushner. And see, this is the other thing, that when there's any communication between Trump and the GCC, everyone has to understand that they are already working with each other behind the scenes. In my view, behind closed doors, Trump is very close to the GCC. He's very close to Saudi Arabia. He's close to the UAE, and so is his son-in-law Kushner. This investment firm, Affinity, is basically Gulf money. It's a vehicle for the Gulf to be able to deal with Israel without dealing with them directly, because the Affinity has dealings with Israel and investments in Israel. So this is how the Gulf is buying Israel, through Affinity. They're also going to buy Gaza,
Right.
And they'll develop Gaza. And this is in Trump's interest. It's in Kushner's interest. It's in their foreign partners' interest. So I think that the beachfront property is going to go to the GCC and to Affinity, and he's trying to make sure that his son-in-law gets a good deal. And then the rest of the land will probably go to mostly big land developers, Emirati and foreign and so on. And maybe here and there will still be some private ownership. But I'm afraid that what will probably happen is that, whereas prior to the genocide, most Gazans had homes, had family homes, and had land, and they could build their homes, and they could build up their homes, expand their homes, and so forth. I think most of the Gazans are going to end up being apartment tenants and not landowners and not homeowners. Most likely they're going to be in apartments. And distribution of the land will be under the caprice of the PA, which means it's going to be basically run by the Gulf.
Right.
And I think that the whole area, inshallah, will be developed. But I think that the Palestinians will be, subordinated economically. Their lives will be better. Quality of life will be better. Obviously, they'll be safer because, I think it was Saudi Arabia said something to the effect. It was either Saudi Arabia or the UAE. I can't remember now. Wallah. It said something about how are we going to put money into reconstruction if it's just going to all get destroyed again? The unsaid part of that is that the question itself implies its own answer, which is that the way that you do that is by the projects that you are constructing in Gaza are not charitable projects, but profitable projects for you and for foreign investors.
Yeah, if your interests are at stake, you don't want.
If your interests are at stake, and Western interests, foreign interests, interests of BRICS, and unfortunately Israeli interests. because the Israelis will have a stake in that because they're partners with Affinity. So they will have a stake in that, but it won't be completely lopsided on their side. It will more be lopsided on the side of the Gulf. Gaza will be Gulfified, so to speak. But I think that, there's a few different ways that it can go, and I think that one of the important things that could happen, and this is where I'll say what I think should happen, then they should bring in China. China should be brought in to do reconstruction, funded by the Gulf. And that will give a lot of jobs, first of all. That will give a lot of jobs to Gazans who are engineers, who are architects, who are construction workers, who used to do construction work in Israel. Now you can be put to work to rebuild your own area. But the Chinese, I don't know anyone else who could do it, but the Chinese. Because it is, practically speaking, it is factually accurate to say that this is a huge logistical challenge.
Logistical undertaking, yes, but they have all the fabricated.
Prefabricated.
Prefabricated solutions, construction wise.
If anyone can figure it out, the Chinese can figure out how to do it. How to rebuild in that very small area that is completely demolished while you have 2 million people. But if anyone can figure it out, the Chinese can figure it out. I mean, they built a 57-story high-rise in 19 days. They built 2 hospitals in 10 days. They can do it. I mean, if you brought in the Chinese, they could rebuild. I won't say they could rebuild Gaza, but if you brought in the Chinese, then within a year, everyone in Gaza would have a roof over their head, and a decent one, But like I say, they will be reduced to being apartment dwellers, not homeowners. But I don't really see a way around that, except for once you move towards a final, ultimate solution to the issue, which is the one-state solution, and the whole territory gets integrated into one giant territory, which would include what is currently Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel into one country, and everyone has citizenship, then you can sort out with land ownership and real estate and so on. So anyway, I don't think Trump is serious at all when he's saying that. I think what he is serious about is when the addition to that statement, which is the question, what other ideas do you have?
I think that's the reality on the ground that needs to be solved.
He's signaling we're moving. Now is the time to move forward. The genocide is over. The conflict is over. Now we have to move to the next phase, which is the rebuilding and the restructuring and the reorganizing, basically, of the region, which includes, like I said, the transfer of dependency. Because Trump has also signaled. He said that he's going to take the American troops out of Syria. He said that they're going to take American troops out of Iraq. America is leaving the Middle East. They're leaving the Middle East. So that corridor that I've been talking about is being built. And now Trump is saying, this is on you. You have to figure out how to do this in a way that satisfies basically the private profit interests of me and my family. Because, like I said, he's a-national. He's not worried about American companies. He's worried about, because Affinity Partners, I think it's what's called Affinity Partners, this investment firm, you could not really define that as an American investment company. It's a Gulf investment company that has Jared Kushner in it. And they have Jared, and they're doing that so that they can have influence with Trump.
Yeah, sure.
And Kushner is the one who was pushing the Abraham Accords. So I think that this whole group of people who is now in power, and who was in power before Biden, like I've said many times, I think that the Abraham Accords, the whole point of that was to start facilitating the breakup between America and Israel, and give Israel a new boyfriend to take care of them, because they've had it, and they can't do it anymore. They're not interested. They're withdrawing from the whole world. So they're withdrawing from the Middle East. They're withdrawing from the whole world, and we want that region to be stable, which is going to include the integration of Israel into the region, which means obviously the end of the conflict, but then also not just the end of the conflict, but the development of Gaza. And the stabilization and the economic development of Gaza, which is going to follow a lot of neoliberal programs, but it's going to be under the Gulf. It's going to be under Muslims. You know, and the same was going to be for Lebanon. The same is going to be for Syria. It's going to be across the whole Mediterranean is going to be like this, inshallah, in my opinion. Which isn't it's not ideal,
Sure.
but it's certainly better than what we've been having.
Yeah.
It's certainly better than what we have had,
Yeah.
and certainly better than what we've had since October of 2023. I mean, it still remains to be seen what's going to happen with Netanyahu.
Mhm.
I can't believe that anybody, the Gulf does not want to work with him at all.
Sure.
I think that, you know, just like back in Biden's administration, when MBS, you know, before October 7th, when there was all this talk about normalization, and he
Yeah.
made it very clear, I'm not going to do this deal with Biden.
Yeah, I remember that MBS interview.
Yeah, on Fox News. It was very clear he was not going to make this deal as long as Biden was there. And I think that it is equally clear that no deal is going to be made as long as Netanyahu is there.
Yeah.
That one of the preconditions to any of this moving forward is the removal of Netanyahu, I think. And Allahu Alam.
There's no elections expected, right?
There are elections coming up in a couple of months, scheduled for a couple of months. But I mean, we all hope that it will happen sooner.
Yeah.
That you know, there'd be a no confidence vote, and his cabinet would fall apart, and they have to have snap elections. I think we also have to consider the possibility, although it's gross to anyone to think about it. It's unpleasant for anyone to think about it. But I think that we have to look at the possibility of Israel joining BRICS. I think that's a thing that could happen.
I didn't see this. Where is this? This.
Because BRICS is going to become more and more involved in the Middle East. You have Egypt as part of BRICS. Saudi Arabia basically is a part of BRICS, although there's still questions about it. UAE is part of BRICS. Iran is part of BRICS. So it wouldn't surprise me. And if we're seeing now the transfer of ownership or dependency to the region, and Israel becoming integrated into the region, and we want to have a way also for China to have a mediating authority over Israel, I'm sure that we're going to see more investment by China into Israel. But if Israel joined BRICS, because part of separating Israel from America is also getting them on a different trading system.
Okay.
A different transfer system, a whole different economic paradigm that needs to happen. And BRICS has a way of resolving disputes. China's ethos, China's philosophy, China's approach, and China's power, China's economic power, and their emphasis on harmony has a way of resolving disputes. So it's possible that we would see. I know. It makes your skin crawl to think about it, because of everything that BRICS stands for in our minds is anti-imperialist, anti-West, colonization, and so on. That Israel, which is a Western colony, Western colonial project, joining it. But this is what I was talking about before in terms of what normalization means. First of all, from our end, normalization means economic conquest and the liberation of the land. But in another context, you can look at normalization meaning become normal.
Yeah.
Because you're abnormal. Israel is abnormal. And in order for this to remain in any way, shape, or form, you have to become normal.
Assimilate.
You have to assimilate to the region. You have to integrate with the region. You have to have harmony with the region. The region has to be cohesive, and you can't be a disruptive factor anymore.
Yeah, it's the perfect way to decouple from the United States.
Yeah.
And be under the new caretaker.
Yeah. I think it's possible that we could see that happen. I can't give a time frame, but I think it's possible that we could see that happen.
Okay.
And Allahu Alam.